My name is Joe, and this is Emotionally Hilarious. In this podcast, I am talking about the things that are unseen but deeply felt. This podcast is specifically for intuitive feelers, the ones who feel everything, see patterns that no one else does, and for people who read between the lines like it's second nature. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in this podcast. We're going to talk about ego. We're going to talk about regret. We're going to talk about intuition. We're going to talk about emotions. We're going to talk about the emotional undercurrent of life and what's really going on beneath the surface. I thought the name Emotionally Hilarious was pretty funny because I have heard Jordan Peterson say that he thinks emotional intelligence is a made-up word. He thinks that emotional intelligence is agreeableness. Statistics show that the best leaders actually don't have as much emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is really hard to measure, and it can really only be measured through surveys. So that's why this is emotionally hilarious. Because we do talk about emotions, but really, this one's for the intuitive feelers, people who have deep empathy, the big picture visionaries, meaning seekers, inspiring communicators, creative problem solvers, harmonizers, bridge builders, the ones who have an inner compass strength, also known as intuition, people who are deeply in tune with an inner knowing. We can't always tell you why we know something, but we just do. And the authenticity champions, they care about being real, being raw, and building up others and encouraging others. The people who you feel safe around. This is for you. Really, my goal is to build a community of intuitive feelers because we are a different breed and we see the world very differently from sensors and thinkers. And today I'm going to share with you 5 ways to help you master your emotions because if we don't control them, they will control us. When we can control our emotions, we become much better decision makers. There is nothing cooler than a person that can be going through a storm, going through a battle in life, and have this unwavering sense of peace and calmness, not letting the outside world affect their inner peace. And I think that's brilliant and super cool. And I strive to be like that. And I do think emotions are such a gift. They're such an amazing tool to help us understand what's really going on. I think sometimes before our brain can consciously be aware of what's happening, our emotions are responding to our circumstances and our environment. And I think emotions are a really good tool to help us improve our lives. So I think emotions, they're just such a gift. Here's why I think mastering your emotions is helpful and beneficial for you because our emotions are the foundation to what drives our behavior. And if we want to have self control and behave in a way that benefits us, then mastering our emotions will help you make better decisions in life. I really think that mastering our emotions also helps us battle the storm within, and it helps us communicate better so we can have better relationships, become better parents, become better friends. Number one, reduce the stress in your life. A little bit of stress is amazing, super helpful, helps us get up in the morning, helps us get things done. I don't think it should be demonized entirely, stress. However, too much stress diminishes our ability to make decisions. I recently had this experience where I was really stressed out and I had called my boyfriend, which we're no longer together. It put him into maybe a defense mode and he did not react very well. Lord have mercy. What I learned was that wasn't a good decision to call my boyfriend when I was under a lot of stress. What I should have done is worked on reducing my stress, taking a walk, exercising, journaling, writing. I think with stress, we can also eat healthier because I think we put a lot of extra stress on our bodies unnecessarily because of our crappy diets sometimes. So if you want to reduce stress, I do think adding certain types of food, certain vegetables, maybe getting enough protein, whatever it is, getting enough micronutrients, taking vitamins, I think that ultimately can really help your stress. Number two, having an attitude of gratitude. This will improve your life so much and improve your emotions so much because whenever we're feeling anxious or whenever we're feeling fear, start focusing on what you're grateful for. I think a lot of times when we have anxiety or fear, we're focusing on what we lack, what we don't have. But when you start focusing on things that you do have, not only are you going to feel better, but I also feel like, and I do believe like the Lord's going to bless us because that's his character. That's who he is. Like, regardless of what we do, like, we have a good heavenly father. You know what I mean? Even if your child isn't behaving, you still give him good things. You still give him gifts and stuff. So I think God can trust us more blessings when we are already grateful for what we have. I feel like when you have an attitude of gratitude, you don't really need anything else. Like you're satisfied with the things that you have. And whatever happens, whatever gifts God bless us with, then fantastic, amazing, even better. But we're happy with what we have now with everything that God put in our lives. And one thing that I want to say about attitude gratitude, I really think praying. Praying's gonna help. Talk to God about it. And I think an attitude of gratitude also extends to thinking positive. I'm kind of lumping those in the same thing. Thinking positive and having a sense of self-belief. I think when you're grateful, you're looking for ways to be more grateful. That's how you start seeing the world, is that you start seeing more opportunities that when you don't have an attitude of gratitude, there may be opportunities in front of you that you're just not seeing. I heard this once. You don't get what you want, you get what you believe. And I really do think that's true. And I have a really funny example on why that's true. But before I get to the example, I'll explain a little bit more about that. Our words come from the position of our hearts. And ultimately, our words and our thoughts, they can become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you're always focusing on the lack, your brain will start looking for lack. But when you're grateful for what you have, your brain's going to start looking for opportunities. And I have a really funny story about this. So I almost have a delusional sense of self-belief, and I realized that recently. And I think that comes from just trying to constantly be grateful. So I went to an event and there was this raffle and they had called a number. And what I heard was 861. But really, he said 861. So my ticket said 886. But all I heard was 861. And I just confidently said, "Oh, that's me." I gave him the ticket. He would have been able to see if it was right or wrong. And no one had challenged the fact that I was the winner. So it probably meant that the person that maybe had the ticket wasn't there. My brain, this is just proof that my brain was looking for the things that can confirm my belief of being a winner. So I really think, all of that to say a really easy way is just have an attitude of gratitude. Number three, get more sleep. Have better sleep hygiene because everyone knows when you have an hour of sleep and you try to function the next day, you're going to be more emotional. One night recently, I got a ton of sleep. The next day I felt amazing. And then the next day I had 1 hour of sleep and I was so emotional. I was not okay. It was a low. I told my friend, I'm like, I'm not okay. I am so sad right now. So I do think improving your sleep, getting more sleep is going to be helpful. If you can cut out sleep aids, that will be such a great long-term benefit for you. Sleep aids don't aid your sleep in the long term. They may help you get to sleep, but your brain isn't able to go through the cycles of sleep that your brain needs to be able to reduce the toxic proteins in your brain that accumulate while you're awake. Set yourself up for success and get more sleep. And if you want to learn more about why sleep is important, there's this book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker, and it really did change my life. Because I realized, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing all this stress in my life and all these emotions. And if I just do one thing, if I just focus on my sleep, I can reduce a lot of the issues that I have. Another way to master our emotions is self awareness. I read this book called Atomic Habits, and it was really helpful because it talked about the power of analytics, the power of recording your behavior so you can look back and see if you've improved or not. A really good way to become more self aware is writing down or typing in a Google Doc, whatever it is, writing down what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. Because what I've noticed is that when I write down what I'm going through, I'm like, oh, wait, I'm not a crazy person. Then you can also look back and see where you've improved. And then the last one, the fifth way to help you master your emotions is listening. Become better listeners. Maybe before reacting, maybe you heard something and you want to react, but maybe you might be wrong. You might not need to react with emotion or have this emotional response because you might actually be interpreting the situation incorrectly. When we focus on being good listeners, we can really understand the reality of a situation. If your partner comes to you and there's an issue that they are presenting to you, and instead of like reacting emotionally and talking, take a step back and listen. Just listen. I know it's hard. I think it was a psychologist, Daniel Goleman. I'm so sorry if I got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was him. And it was a video on emotional intelligence. And it was talking about how listening, if you're not used to doing that, like me, sorry, Lord have mercy, it feels like when you cross your arms, well, cross your arms the other way. Oh, I don't even know how to do it. Wait, this is normal. This is not normal. This is what it feels like when you start listening, but eventually our bodies adapt. There you have it. That's our first episode today. How to master those very awesome emotions. And I hope this was helpful for you. I really want to do an episode on self respect, intuition. These are all separate. Yeah, I want to do one on ego. I want to do an episode on body language, on cues, what physical cues are you picking up or are you sending out? How to enhance your communication skills. An episode on maybe dreams. That might be hard. I don't know if I can actually achieve that, but that would be kind of cool. Ooh, an episode on the power of prayer. I hope you enjoyed it. All you intuitive feelers, all of you NF types out there, I love you all, even though I don't know you, and I hope we can grow a community. And I want to know what you want to hear. I want to know what your feedback is. If I got anything wrong, if I got anything right. Are you an intuitive feeler? I want to know if there's anything that you heard in today's episode that made you feel seen, or something that you have experienced and finally you heard it verbalized. Maybe there's nothing that was relatable to you. Let me know how unrelatable this was. And if you couldn't relate to this, it's probably because you're a sensor thinker. This is for the NFs, for the NF tribe, and we talk about things that are often unseen but deeply felt.